Enroll your child for the manifested e-learning platform and see their grades grow tremendously. These videos can be downloaded to a laptop for offline viewing or viewed from a smartphone in a course-friendly format.
Hello learners, and welcome to our today's learning session. It's my hope that you are ready to learn. When you come to these sessions, learners, make sure that you have an exercise book and a pen so that you can write notes which will help you revise what you are learning. In our last lesson, we were learning about the environment that is under the subject known as science. At the end of the lesson, I gave you an assignment. Learners, I want to encourage you to ensure that all the assignments we give in class are done. At the end of every lesson, we give assignments. So after the lesson, make sure you do the assignment so that as you are coming to class, the assignment is done. And if you have any question, we allow questions. Below this video, there is a comment section where you can post your questions, and all your questions will be answered. So learners, welcome to our today's session, and I'm repeating, the subject is known as science. The topic is environment. So I want you to write down the subject is Science Standard 7. The unit is environment. Environment. The subtopic is components of environment. Components of the environment. We are proceeding from where we stopped. This is not the first lesson. We have been having sessions under this topic. And in our previous lesson, learners, we discussed the component known as water. Remember, we had mentioned earlier that the major components of the environment include animals, plants, water, soil, and air. So far, we have studied animals, plants, and water. We learned how animals, how plants, and how water are useful in the environment. And in the last lesson, we were talking about water. We saw that water is a major component of the environment. We learned that it covers the largest surface of the earth, about 70%. Learners, 70% of the surface of the earth is covered by water. We also saw that water is found in an environment in wells, in rivers, in lakes, in ponds, in dams, in oceans, and in seas. Learners, we did not stop at that. We studied that water also exists in form of rain clouds, snow, dew, and also ice. Then we gave around 5 usefulness of water in the environment. We say that water is useful in the environment in different ways. We gave about 5 ways. One of the ways is that we learned that some animals, such as fish, such as whales, such as crocodiles, hippos, sea lions, dolphins, crabs, lobsters, octopus, oysters, and many of them, they live in water. We have many animals that live in water. Some of these animals are big, others are small. They obtain their shelter, air, and food from water. In other words, water is home to many animals. Many animals find shelter in water. Animals also require air. Okay, this air is also found in water. That is one usefulness, that is one way in which water is useful. We also say that animals, number two, animals and human beings need water in order to live. So learners, water, we said, is important in the functioning of bodies of animals and human beings. The third point we noted was that water is useful during the process of photosynthesis. During the process of photosynthesis, water is required when photosynthesis takes place. Without water, we say that plants will dry up. We said also seeds need water in order to germinate. So you see how important water is to plants. Plants cannot grow or germinate if there is no water. Photosynthesis cannot be successful if there is no water. So water is also very useful to plants. Then we gave another way in which water is useful in the environment by giving different purposes of water in our homes and in farms. We saw that some of the major uses of water in our homes include drinking. We drink water, we use water in washing, water in cleaning, watering plants, animals, bathing, and also rearing fish. You have families that rear fish in homes, so fish ponds. You cannot have a fish pond without water. Then we also say that we depend on rainwater to grow crops in our farms. So that is what we learned in our last lesson, learners. In today's lesson, we are going to study the usefulness of soil to the environment. So we've covered water, we've covered animals, we've covered plants. Today we want to focus our attention on soil. Soil is another major component of the environment. So I want you to write down soil. Soil. Learners, soil is another major component of the environment. Soil is a major component of the environment. Soil is a major component of the environment. So learners, I want us to list the ways in which soil is important to the environment. So learners, soil is important to the environment in the following ways. Number one is that soil is a medium in which plants grow. Soil is a medium in which plants grow. Number one, soil is a medium in which plants grow. Soil is a medium in which plants grow. If you want to plant crops, then the crops have to be planted in the soil. Plants cannot grow anywhere else. Plants are supported by soil. It's a medium in which plants grow. That is very important. The plants, learners, obtain food, nutrients from the soil. The reason why we plant our crops in the soil is because the nutrients that plants need in order to grow are found in the soil. Okay, so the plants obtain nutrients from the soil. The plants obtain nutrients from the soil. They obtain their food from the soil. Plants grow, obtain their nutrients from the soil. Another point related to what we have said is that plants are firmly rooted in the soil for support. Okay, plants are firmly rooted in the soil for support. A plant cannot just be planted in the air. No, because of gravity, it will fall on the ground. So it is this soil that supports plants because the roots of the plant are firmly rooted in the soil. It's the soil that helps the plants to be firmly rooted in the ground. So soil is very important because I've said, learners, number one, it is a medium in which plants grow. You cannot grow plants in, say, sugar or salt, okay, or flour. You cannot plant crops in flour. You have to, the reason being, the nutrients that plants require to grow are in the soil. So if you want plants to grow, if you want to harvest crops, then you need to look for soil, then plant the seeds in the soil, then the seeds will germinate. Okay? Why? Because the nutrients, the food that plants require to grow are found in the soil. Okay? Then, learners have said, plants are firmly rooted in the soil for support. Soil helps the plants to be firmly rooted in the ground. So that is point number one. Then number two, the other way in which soil is useful in the environment is that animals feed on plants that grow on soil. Animals feed on plants that grow in soil. So in other words, we are saying animals benefit indirectly. Okay? Animals benefit directly from the soil, indirectly from the soil. We have said, if I was to demonstrate here, we have animals here. These animals feed on plants. And these plants are supported by soil. We saw that in point number one, that plants get their nutrients from the soil. So, plants benefit directly from the soil. Directly from the soil. Directly from the soil. They get nutrients from the soil. But animals, including human beings, rely on plants for survival. They rely on plants for survival. So animals feed on plants which get their nutrients from the soil. So you can see, learners, that these animals also benefit indirectly from the soil. Okay? This is directly. Directly, plants get nutrients directly from the soil. Animals get nutrients indirectly. This is indirectly. So plants get nutrients from the soil, but animals rely on plants for survival. So learners, if there is no soil, if you do away with soil, as imagine there is no soil in the world, that would mean that there will be no plants, because soil supports plants. Plants need soil for support, okay, because you say that plants are firmly rooted in the soil. They also get their nutrients from the soil. So if you do away with soil, then we will not have plants which are needed by animals. So without plants, animals cannot survive, including human beings. Okay, they cannot survive. So that's why you say that animals feed on plants that grow in the soil. Without soil, there will be no food for animals. Learners, without soil, there will be no food for animals. Without soil, there will be no food for animals. So we've said soil is a component of the environment. And learners, you can see now why it's important for us to take care of the soil. Because animals, including human beings, need soil for survival, need soil for food. Because without soil, there will be no food for animals and human beings. So soil is a very important component in the environment. That is the second point. Then the third point, learners, is that soil is home for small animals. Soil is home for small animals. That means that there are many animals that live in the soil. Many animals find their shelter in the soil. Animals such as moles, earthworms, bacteria, and so on. Okay? Soil is home for small animals. Squirrels, there are many learners. Squirrels, millipedes, bacteria, earthworms, moles, and so on. They live in the soil. That is where they call home. All right? Soil is home for small animals such as earthworms, millipedes, bacteria, okay, earthworms, millipedes, bacteria, moles, squirrels, we have moles, etc. There are very many small animals that live in the soil. So you can see another reason why we are saying soil is an important component of the environment. Then number four, another we are discussing ways in which soil is important. Another way in which soil is important is that people plow and cultivate the soil to produce food crops. People, human beings cultivate soil to produce crops. We cultivate the soil so as to produce crops, and this can be cash crops or food crops, but let me just call them food crops because this is what we need first. Food crops. Food is basic, is a basic need. Human beings cultivate soil to produce food crops. Without soil, you cannot have food. Okay, so soil is important to human beings because it supports the crops that we need for food. People plow and cultivate the soil to produce food crops. We grow food crops like maize, millet, cassava, avocado, beans, and so on. Those are the foods that we need for survival. So, learners, these are four ways in which soil is important or useful to the environment. Point number one, we say that soil is a medium in which plants grow. Plants obtain nutrients from the soil. We have also said that plants are firmly rooted in the soil for support. Okay, plants are also firmly rooted in the soil for support. Then point number two, we say that animals feed on plants that grow in soil. Without soil, there will be no food for animals. Point number three, soil is home for small animals like earthworms, millipedes, moles, squirrels, bacteria, and so on. Then lastly, we say that human beings cultivate soil to produce food crops. So these are four ways in which soil is useful to the environment. And that will mark the end of our today's lesson. I want you to go through the lesson once more, write down notes, then answer this question. I have one question for you today. This is your assignment. That's a question, learners. How useful is soil to living organisms in the environment? Question mark. Thank you for attending our today's learning session. I hope to meet you in our next lesson where we are going to study the usefulness of air in the environment. Learners, air is another major component of the environment. In our next lesson, we will discuss the importance of air to the environment. Bye-bye.
Enroll your child for the manifested e-learning platform and see their grades grow tremendously. These videos can be downloaded to a laptop for offline viewing or viewed from a smartphone in a cost-friendly format.